Progressives, this is your trigger warning. Welcome back, all you thought criminals and MAGA extremists. And those of you that are new, welcome. From timcast.com. Kevin McCarthy launches Republican strategy. My PBS voice. Commitment to America. Dun, dun, dun. I say this jokingly. I am a big fan of Republican principles and the Republican Party. I'm not so much of a fan of their leaders, especially in Washington. We're probably going to get Kevin McCarthy if the Republicans take the House. All right, I'll take the man at his word. Give him a clean slate to start over, I guess. We'll see. The House Minority Leader's plan is reminiscent of Newt Gingrich's 1994 contract with America, which I remember, and it was incredibly successful. I remember in 94, the Republicans took the House and the Senate. The first time in over 40 years, my understanding, if I remember correctly. The Commitment to America is a Republican strategy designed to address concerns of inflation, violent crime, illegal border crossing, and a failing education system amid COVID-19 measures. Other than that, we're doing really good. They're in charge. This is their record, which is true. I remember when I was a councilman in upstate New York in the early 2000s, the first 4-year term I had, I was in the minority. The second 4-year term, I was in the majority. And being in the minority is a hell of a lot easier, believe me. McCarthy says it in the advertisement, knowing that the White House and Washington, D.C. are currently controlled by Democrats. The Commitment to America is designed to get America, back in my PBS voice again, get America back on track. As the House Minority Leader declares, the plan focuses on strengthening the economy, ensuring financial stability for families, along with children first orientation, making communities safer, being accountable law enforcement, and holding politicians accountable. Yeah, okay. I do want the Republicans to take over, and I sound like I'm a skeptic, and I am, and rightfully so. Maybe we'll have to at least try in our minds to wipe the slate clean and start over. You know, you're in a really bad marriage, and you sit down and you decide, you know what, let's really do a commitment to making it work this time. Or is it going to be Charlie Brown, the football again? We'll have to see. American people cannot afford another 2 years of Democrat control. That's true. It's time to get our country back on track. This is the Republican Commitment to America. Now, here's the short video. I won't play all of it, but we'll play a little bit.
When you and your family go shopping, you probably ask yourself, can we afford this? Now more than ever, Americans are struggling just to get by, wondering if they could even make it. You know what's even worse? The country's struggle goes beyond just the grocery store. Violent crime is at record highs in our streets and neighborhoods. The border has become a national security crisis, with fentanyl killing our fellow citizens. Soaring inflation has shrunk paychecks and sent us into a recession. And our kids have fallen further behind thanks to school closures and lockdowns. The White House and the Democrat majority in Congress control Washington. They're in charge. This is their record. And yet, they want you to give them 2 more years of power. But Republicans have a plan for a new direction, one that'll get our country back on track. It's called the Commitment to America, a plan for an economy that's...
All right, you get an idea. Usual talking points. And this time, I hope they're going to really do it. I'll tell you why I want the Republicans to take over the House and the Senate. Is to hold hearings, to hold the sons of bitches responsible that did a lot of this stuff, that took a president that only comes along once in a century and made his life miserable. Instead of worrying about the American people and your hate, instead of your hatred for Donald Trump. All you cared about was power and control. All right, there's nothing wrong with power and control if you use it constructively. And they didn't. They wasted tens of millions of dollars in legal fees and nonsense to impeach a president twice. I do like this part, though. If you're going to call it a parent's bill of rights, and we'll repeal the IRS's new agents. That's the thing that scares the hell out of me. I read in several sources that the IRS last year or this year bought tons of ammunition. What the hell is the IRS going to do with all the ammunition? One can only guess. McCarthy's Commitment to America is reminiscent of former minority whip Newt Gingrich's 1994 contract with America, which similarly sought to hold politicians accountable. It also promised audits on congressional spending. Yeah, that won't happen. Reduction in House committees and term limits for chairs. I go along with that. That's fine. It's the usual stuff. Bans on proxy voting, requiring meetings be publicly accessible, a 3/5 majority to pass tax increases. That I'll go along with. Implementing zero baseline budgeting to hold the federal budget accountable. Yeah, well, that won't happen either, but one can always hope. The contract with America appeared to prove successful for campaigning Republicans who garnered 54 seats in the House and 9 Senate seats, resulting in a public majority. Both houses of Congress, a feat that has not been accomplished in 40 years. Earlier this year, Republican Florida Senator Rick Scott introduced his own 12-point plan, Rescue America, which addressed issues the House Minority Leader previously mentioned. And they go on to talk about all this stuff about debt and reform and fair, fraud-free elections and rejection of the current narrative on gender equality, big tech and religious liberty. I should say gender equity. America first and cutting taxes. Oh, America first makes you a MAGA Republican. President Biden referred to Rick Scott's supporters of the rescue plan as ultra MAGA shortly after the plan's announcement. Later, the president referred to Trump as the great MAGA king and has continued to frame his political opponents in a negative light. It's fine to frame your opponents in a negative light, but this is outright nonsense. Saying the extreme MAGA Republicans in Congress have chosen to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division. Earlier this month in Milwaukee during a Labor Day speech. Now, there's a term called deflection. I've seen deflection before in politics my whole life. I'm almost 66. I have never seen deflection on this kind of scale. Everything they complain about is exactly what they're doing. Full of hate and division. Look at the rioting in 2020. They did absolutely nothing about it. Not only did nothing about it, they encouraged it. The string of Republican congressmen that have endorsed McCarthy's plan since the Thursday announcement include Representative Elise Stefanik. She's just north of me. I live in upstate New York. She's up in the upper right-hand corner of New York in the Adirondacks, and one from South Carolina and one from California. So I don't know. I did this tongue-in-cheek in a way, but I'll give the Republicans a shot. I'll give them another chance. I'll be Charlie Brown again with a football. I do this for one reason and one reason only. We cannot continue in this country with the Democrats in charge. Absolutely no question about that. Now, how enthusiastic are you to vote for Republicans? I say do it. You've got really nothing to lose. You really and truly don't. Because even if they screw up, they can go nowhere near the damage done by Democrats in the last couple of years. Nowhere near the damage. If they do nothing at all and stop the damage, I'll consider that a victory. So don't stay home. Bring 3, 4, 5 people to vote in November, or even early voting. Say you're going to give them a ride, or I'm going to go to dinner later, or go to a movie, or go to a ball game or something. Make it an outing. Family members, coworkers, friends, neighbors. Bring at least 5 people. Try to make that your commitment. We have to get the Democrats out. And then we have to hold Republicans responsible. Call congressional leaders if and when they win the House. Every time they mess up and don't keep a promise, call 50 congressmen and have 50 people call congressmen and keep that going. Believe me, I used to be a local city councilman. Phone calls from constituents, especially negative ones, they really listen. Doesn't take many, 50, 100, 150 calls to a Congress member to make them think, what the hell am I doing wrong here? Because it's just the nature of an elected person to be paranoid. Believe me, I know. All right, so let's give them a shot. But in order to give them a shot, you have to vote out the Democrats. Make that plan number 1. Plan number 2, when the Democrats are gone, hold the Republicans' feet to the fire to keep their promises. We have no other choice because the future of the country is at stake. Until the next time, goodbye and definitely good luck.